Hey, what's up guys, Adam here, and in this video we're going to be talking about ISAs, what they are and the different types that are available. Now it must be said that I'm not a qualified financial advisor. Everything in this video is for entertainment and educational purposes only. For your own individual circumstance, I would advise that you seek professional qualified advice. So with that being said, let's get right into the video. So ISA is an acronym for Individual Savings Account and is the most tax efficient way for most people to save their money. And by tax efficient, I mean any interest growth on the funds that are within the ISA are not bound to capital gains tax. Sounds great, right? Now, there are a few things you need to consider if you're looking to open up one or multiple ISAs. So the first thing is that there is a £20,000 combined limit per tax year. So each tax year, you can only contribute up to £20,000 across all of your ISAs combined. So you're not able to go over this limit. And if you do go over this limit, then any funds over that limit are subject to tax. Another point to consider is that you can only open up one type of ISA per tax year. Now, of course, you can change to a different provider if you want to, if you're getting better services or deals with that provider. But what you need to do then is to either take your current provider, you need to freeze that account, change into a different style of savings account or completely close it, and then transfer those funds into your new ISA provider. So the first type of ISA we're going to be talking about is the cash ISA. Now, a cash ISA is fairly similar to a general savings account. Now, the interest rate is slightly better on a cash ISA, but not by a large margin. Most banks, if you're signing up for the first time, will try and give you some sort of incentive. So they may give you like a fixed interest rate of say 2.5% for the first 2 and 3 years. And then after that point, it will simply drop back down to their basic ISA interest rate. Now, the cash ISA is definitely the poorest performing ISA on this list. The interest rate is fairly low. And as I said before, you always want to make sure the interest rate is greater than the inflation rate being 2%. So if your interest rate is below 2%, then your money is actually going to be losing value and losing its spending power year on year. So we always want to make sure that our portfolio is growing at a rate that is much greater than 2%. Now, the cash ISA isn't just all doom and gloom. It's perfect for short-term savings. So if you're saving for a car, maybe a house deposit or a holiday, this ISA is going to be perfect for that. You're not going to see too much depreciation within your funds over a few years, but I wouldn't recommend using a cash ISA for long-term savings because the overall interest rate that you're going to get on a cash ISA is just far too low. But with that being said, it's probably the most safest ISA in terms of protecting your capital. So the next type of ISA we're going to be taking a look into is my personal favorite, and that is the stocks and shares ISA. Now, if you're not familiar with the term stocks and shares, be sure to take a look into my last 2 videos. The first of which was a beginner's plan to investing, and the second one was the different types of stocks and funds that you can invest into. So if you're not familiar with the term stocks and shares, be sure to take a look into those videos and then come back to this one. So most of the investment platforms that I talked about in those 2 videos, such as Vanguard, Trading 212, Free Trade, eToro, Hargreaves Lansdown, not only just have a general investing account, but they also have a stocks and shares ISA. Now, you can just imagine you have the ability to invest in various stocks, commodities, funds, and have all that accumulation be completely tax-free. That is the power of a stocks and shares ISA. So some companies may charge you a small fee for setting up a stocks and shares ISA. You may have a monthly recurring fee, but just bear in mind the tax-free accumulation that you're going to make within that ISA is definitely going to outweigh that fee. Now, compared to all the other ISAs on this list, the stocks and shares ISA is definitely the most powerful one when it comes to that capital growth. If you really plan your investing strategy, you can really make a lot of money in the long term with a stocks and shares ISA. Compared to any other ISA on this list, the stocks and shares ISA is definitely going to be the one for that magic of compound interest. So moving now on to the next type of ISA, and that is the lifetime ISA. Now, the lifetime ISA is kind of the new kid on the block and actually came to replace what was the Help to Buy ISA. Not to be mixed up with the Help to Buy mortgage when you're buying a home. It was actually called the Help to Buy ISA, and it had very similar credentials to the lifetime ISA. Now, the lifetime ISA is a government-backed ISA, and as a result, there's quite a few restrictions attached to it. And it really only has 2 primary purposes. It can't really be used for anything else. So the first purpose is to be used as a deposit for your first home. And keyword there is first. It has to be your first home. It can't be for a second home or a third home or even an investment property. It must just be for your first home. Now, if you don't decide to use the lifetime ISA for a home deposit, its second purpose then is to become a retirement pot, which you can only access when you reach retirement age. So the reason the restrictions are quite tight with the lifetime ISA is mainly because of the government incentives. They'll give you a bonus of 25% on the amount that you contribute within the tax year. So let's say you contribute £1,000, the government will give you a 25% bonus, which will make the amount up to £1,250, which sounds really great, doesn't it? So with that being said, then let's move on to the restrictions of the lifetime ISA. So the first restriction is that you can only contribute up to £4,000 per tax year. So under that £20,000 combined ISA limit, only £4,000 can go towards the lifetime ISA. Now, the second restriction is that if you're looking to purchase a house and use the lifetime ISA as a home deposit, the house value must be under £450,000. Now, this isn't too much of an issue because most first-time buyers are buying a home under that value. Now, if you live in London, it could be a bit more difficult to try and find a home under that value. But if you're living outside of London, you can definitely find a home for under £450,000. It's really more as an incentive for first-time buyers. And as I said before, most first-time buyers aren't really buying a home for over that value. Now, the third restriction on the lifetime ISA is the withdrawal fines. Now, if you try to withdraw from the lifetime ISA, not only will you lose your 25% government bonus, but you'll also be fined an extra 25% on the amount that you're trying to take out. So it's quite a massive hit. So just make sure if you're looking to open up a lifetime ISA, make sure either you're definitely doing it either for a home deposit or you're doing it for retirement purposes. This is not to be used as a dip in and dip out account, because every single time you dip out, you're going to be fined 25% on the amount you're trying to withdraw. So make sure if you're opening up this account, you have it with those two goals in mind: a home deposit or retirement. And the fourth restriction is that you can only use it for a home deposit if the account has been open for more than 12 months. So again, you kind of need to be in this account for quite a while before you can actually do anything with it. So make sure you have the account for longer than 12 months if you're looking to use it for a home deposit. So that pretty much sums up the lifetime ISA. Now, as you can see, it's got quite a few restrictions attached to it, probably more so than any other ISA on this list. But if you're using it for its intended purposes, then it can be a really effective ISA to have with you. Now, personally, I have my lifetime ISA with Hargreaves Lansdown, and I know its intended purpose is going to be for a home deposit. So some of these restrictions that are on the list don't affect me too much. So the next type of ISA we're going to be taking a look at is definitely a unique one, and that is the Innovative Finance ISA, also known as peer-to-peer lending. So with this type of ISA, you effectively become a lender and your portfolio becomes the borrowing pot for businesses and individuals, and it essentially cuts out the middleman, which is the bank. So similarly to a stocks and shares ISA, you can actually diversify your risk when it comes to letting various different companies borrow from your portfolio pot. Now, just remember, you're not actually investing in these companies. They're actually borrowing from your pot and then paying you back an interest rate. So you can decipher between high risk companies, which will pay you more interest because they're a lot more high risk. They might be smaller companies or startups. And of course, you have the more low risk companies that tend to be the more established ones that will have a much lower rate of interest rate to pay you back. And the interest rate normally floats somewhere around between 6 and 9% per year. Now, just bear in mind, innovative financing is not backed by the FSCS. That is the Financial Services Compensation Scheme. So if a company goes bust, you essentially lose that part of your portfolio. Now, there are ways that you can try and chase it up, but they are quite difficult to follow through with. So just like the lifetime ISA, the Innovative Finance ISA is not very withdrawal friendly. Now, there aren't any fines attached, but there is a long waiting time. So just bear that in mind. It's not going to be the most liquid of funds at your disposal. So the final ISA that we're going to be taking a look at is the Junior Cash or Stocks and Shares ISA. Now, I personally would go for the Stocks and Shares ISA because, as I mentioned before, we can get a lot more accumulation in a Stocks and Shares ISA. Now, the purpose of the Junior ISA is mainly for parents to invest in their children, providing they're under the age of 18. It's mainly to invest in their future, so when they reach adulthood, they have a portfolio of funds at their disposal. Now, unlike some of the other ISAs on this list, there is a contribution limit on this ISA, and that limit is 4,368, kind of a strange number, but that is the amount you can contribute up until the age of when they reach 18. So whilst it's still a junior ISA, you can only make contributions up to 4,368 per tax year. As soon as that child becomes an adult, that actual portfolio in that ISA will become a full-blown adult ISA with all the bells and whistles of a regular cash or stocks and shares ISA. So for those of you that haven't watched my Dave Ramsey's 7 Steps to Financial Freedom video, I'll leave it in the info card above. You know that when we get to step 5, one of the key points is to save up for your child's university fund. Now this will be a great way to utilize the junior stocks and shares ISA, especially because of course we can get all that accumulation from the stock market and we can draw down from that fund when they are of university age and use that to supplement their university living costs. So now guys, that has been the 5 types of ISAs that are available, and make sure you actually take a look into the specifics of each ISA before you actually sign up, because each ISA has different regulations, has different goals in mind. So make sure you actually take a look and see if the ISA is right for you. So anyway guys, that's been the video. If you enjoyed it, you know what to do. Hit the like button down below. And if you want to see more videos like this that talk about investing, personal finance, business and videography, this is the channel for it. So be sure to hit the subscribe button down below. And of course, make sure you hit the notification bell so you actually know when we upload videos to this channel. Anyway guys, it's been Adam here. Thank you for watching. Take care. And of course, I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.